do you want to go over, or um, do you want me to just start from the beginning?
Yeah, if you need any examples, I'm in the middle of new construction right now. We should be closing, I think, in next 7 days. I think we're closing next week. So, and I haven't done anything. So use me as how not to do things because I have not uploaded my contract into the back office yet. I haven't done any of that stuff, but it's all in my computer.
You can use me as an
Wow.
example as well. I do a lot of new construction and my stuff is uploaded.
Thank you very much, Renee.
Like confession time.
I have all the
Um,
paperwork. I just haven't put it in there yet.
yeah, you better if you want to get paid.
I know. I was doing it today. It's on my list.
Um, so tell me about your new construction. Tanya, how's that?
It's going good. It's in Hutto, and we're going with Lennar.
Oh, okay. You won't get a check. They will send it to me. They will
Oh,
send, let me,
that's
let
fine.
me, let me re-explain that. They will write out the full check to Classic Realty and they will email an e-check to you with a password. It will be your responsibility to either send me the password so I can get into the check, or, and each agent has their own way of handling it, or download the check and email it to us. Um, and then we will put a copy of that check in the actual transaction. Either way works perfectly fine with me, whatever you want to do, but they will give you the passcode for it to be able to access that check. I won't be given that information, which is crazy to me, but that's
Yeah,
what they
I
do.
don't understand it either. And what I did notice with Lennar, and I didn't notice this, is this something that they do with all new home builds? So the purchase price is 300,000. Okay, then kick, minus any stuff back to the buyer. So they give the buyer like $10,000 in credit,
Concessions.
whatever. Yeah. So now my commission is based on 290 instead of the $300,000 sales price, which I know in the real world that would never fly, but in the
So
construction world it seems like they didn't even ask. They're just like, here you go, here's your stuff.
this is the way they do it.
Yeah.
So commissions on new construction can go several different ways. One way is that it is the sales price less concessions to the buyer,
Hmm.
and that's what it's figured on. One way is that it's figured on only the base price. So any upgrades that your client puts into the home are not considered, right? So the final sales price is not considered. That's one way that it can be done. And then of course, sometimes it is just here's the purchase price and we're going to pay you off of that. Um, they will have a different buyer agent commission sometimes for inventory versus new bit,
Hmm.
like starting from scratch, build your own.
Hmm.
Um, some builders will pay half up front and half at closing. And more recently, we have seen one builder, Jackie did it at the end of last year, where he got paid all of it up front before they even broke ground.
Hmm.
That was risky, in my opinion, on the builder's part. We've only
Hmm.
seen it happen that once.
Hmm.
Had
All right.
one before where I got paid when they poured the foundation.
Yeah.
However, the house itself was a long ways away from being completed, but I got paid at the foundation pour.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's
So a
their way
lot
of
of
telling you
builders,
to walk.
I'm so, what was that?
That's their way of telling you to walk. They don't want you to advise the client anymore. That's like, I got it from you, Renee, we're out. That's what they
Well,
that's kind of how I felt like
the
a
client
couple of
kept
different
coming
times.
to me, so tough luck to them because the client did keep coming to me through
Exactly.
the whole thing.
Yeah, mine did the same thing. She goes, do I really need to go to this inspection? I go, yes. Yes, you do.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So I was
So
gonna say I noticed KB Home up there is different from KB Home in the San Antonio area, as the KB Home up there will send you the entire check versus splitting the commission for myself and you splitting
Right.
it that way. They want to send the brokerage the whole check.
So, different builders in different areas handle it different ways. In different subdivisions, they may even handle it different ways. So just because they're paying 3 or 4% in this subdivision doesn't mean if you go to the next one, they're going to pay 2,
So
right?
they're paying
So
2 and a 1% bonus, which comes to the 3% that's on my buyer broker agreement, but that's how they're doing it. It's a 2% plus a 1% referral bonus.
they,
That's what they're calling it.
they want your client to see the bonus piece of it. That's what they're going after. Because sometimes when a buyer sees that bonus piece, they're like, oh, my agent, please share, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's interesting that they're calling it a bonus and it's really just coming to the same 3%. So yeah, it'll differ between subdivisions. It'll differ between areas as to whether they're going to pay all of it to the broker. Some of them for a long time, Lennar would only overnight checks. They only recently started doing this e-check system. There are other times that you'll have a situation where they will overnight the check to the broker's office. Some of them will do the split, right? We can send them a DA and they'll do the split. We have to know how they're paying before we can create our DA to send it the um, to the title company. Um, Another thing to note, if you are if you're doing a deal where the builder is paying less than the purchase price, it is very important to make sure that after closing, so for the DA to be correct, the purchase price has to read whatever the builder is calculating the commission on. Okay. But at the end of the year, you want to show your true volume, right? So you can get your award for being the top producer or whatever. So for that to show your true production in our brokerment system, we have to now go back in after the DA has been sent. We can do it before closing, but after the DA has been calculated, then we can go in and change the purchase price to show your true production level. Does that make sense? So it
Yeah.
kind of, we have to kind of, manipulate the system um, to make sure that your true production shows at the end of the year. So kind of make sure you go in and take that next step. Um, and if you're not able to change it, I know I got an email from Chelsea, but I think she waited until after closing to go in and change the purchase price, and then she wasn't able to adjust the purchase price. So I think if you catch it between the time that the DA is figured, and now we know what we've got our DA saved as a PDF in the documents. Now we can go in and change the purchase price to show to reflect your total production, right? Your at the end of the year. So yeah, builders do it all kinds of crazy different ways, and there seems to be no regulation.
I'm sure it's in that 183-page contract they sent my buyer over to read and sign.
Yeah. Well, and the contract itself is, it's just generally the standard new construction that their attorney tweaked, obviously. And it just includes all of the construction features, right? Like what's included in the build, that's also included in that. So that's where it comes up to be 183 pages. Well, and they're probably including HOA information in there as well, as to whether or not the builder still controls the HOA, or if they've already built out enough that it is resident controlled. Because that happens, right, in a new construction community. So a lot of times at the very beginning, the builder is controlling the HOA, and it's not until they get a certain percentage built out, which typically is somewhere between 40 and 60, right? Once they get that percentage built out, then they turn that over to the homeowners. Sometimes it's not until the builder backs out of
Yeah,
the
we're
HOA.
still Star Ranch still has developer control. and we
Right.
finally just got to 80%. And I think in the next year is when he's supposed to finally turn it over to the homeowners. But Star Ranch is what, 8 years old now?
Yeah, because the builder is still there, they still want to have control. So
Yeah.
again, sometimes those builders wait until they are completely pulling out. So that may be why they're calculating that 1 year. When they completely pull out, then they'll allow the residents to take over the HOA. So that's just something for your clients. You know, the HOA payments aren't going to change so much, but whether or not the big trucks are allowed to drive down your road is what changes, or which roads the big trucks are allowed to drive down, right? Or what type of construction materials are allowed to be stored on the curb, right, to get in your way. All of that, of course, will change when the residents take over, right? So that's the builder tries to hold the HOA as long as they can sometimes. So that's something for your clients to know that will change too. Especially if they want to get involved in the HOA and have some say in what kind of bushes they can put out front. Any other things that you've run across that came up?
On our Lennar purchase that we're going with right now, we were actually able to use an outside lender and still get all of the stuff that they were going to give to the client if she used an inside lender. And the reason why is because, so this is, a little tidbit for everybody that does this with their clients. Um, she went ahead and tried to qualify with their in-house lender, and their in-house lender couldn't do it
Get it done. Mhm.
because she is still married and
Mm.
is buying the house on her own with her mother and separating her asset from her husband. And that was too tricky for Lennar's lenders. So they authorized her to use Gavin and Nico because they've done it before. And they're going to give her still the same incentives that they were giving her had she went with their lender,
Good.
because they couldn't do it that way. So that's the little tidbit that I always thought that once, if you brought in an outside lender, then you were basically SOL, that whatever you went
Not
with, you went with,
always.
and you didn't get it, that you just got whatever they could offer you. But yeah, in this case, Lennar was very like, nope, we can't qualify her. We'll still give her these incentives with her lender, outside lender being brought in. So that was
Yeah.
new to me. It was a
A
very
lot
cool
of times
surprise.
if the a lot of times if the builder's lender is not able to get it done, they will still honor those incentives whenever you come across a lender that can get it done. So yeah. Yeah. Good tidbit. And you guys had inspections done. Did you bring in a third party inspector?
Not on mine. My buyer chose not to because it was brand new, and she said for her it's a little bit different because she bought new here with me and KB, and you have a full year after you move in
Right.
for it. So she said, I don't. I'm gonna go just do the visual, two walkthroughs, and we'll pay for a inspector within my first year.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I get it. We did the same thing. It's brand new construction. Everything's
Right.
still under warranty. So that's kind of what she did for this, but she will be bringing in a third party, after she's been
Before
there
the
a minute.
warranty runs out.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So, so that's what she'll be doing soon.
Good. Good.
Mine
That's one
did
way
do
of
third
handling
party
it.
inspections.
You did do third party? Yep. Yep. It's tricky to
And
get
we
those.
did the sewer camera inspection and everything and found construction debris in the sewer line. I mean, it's a good thing we
Yeah.
did things like that. But
Yeah.
that's the house that my buyers backed out on too because we couldn't come to terms with that builder over that appraisal and had to switch homes. But
So
they
let's talk about appraisal for a minute, Renee. How did that go? What was happening there?
I could show you the appraisal at some point, which feels to me like obvious collusion because he took the actual, pretty much actual amount of concessions off my buyers, the subject property. However, then he goes into 3 comp properties, which had appraised at that price in order to be sold, obviously, and went in and adjusted them. Big donut. Oh my gosh, sorry. And went down and adjusted their prices. And I mean, there was one, I believe he took like $60,000 off and called it, options slash concessions or whatever. But he did whatever he had to do to lower the price of all 3 comps in order to lower the price of our subject property into the 350s versus being at 385. It was $27,365 low, and 27,000 was the amount of concessions the builder offered my buyer, or the amount of option money slash concessions that the builder offered my buyers in order to do what they needed to
They
do.
wanted the buyer to bring all of that to the table.
And then they wanted my buyer to bring as much as they could to the table. My buyer said they would bring $2,000, and that's all they really could because they're in the middle of moving. I think the tipping point with my buyer was when, and I'm just going to say it, when Pulte's lender made the decision that not only would my buyers be bringing $2,000 to the table, they would forfeit all $5,000 of their earnest money, and then they came to me to forfeit part of my commission in order to do this.
Wow.
But my
Wow.
buyers were, while they were mad that they were asking me to forfeit money because they said that I've done everything in the world for them because they're out of state and I deserved my money, it was more along the lines of they didn't even tell my buyers that they were going to have to do this 5,000. It was just a very last minute thing of, well, yeah, you're going to bring the 2,000, but you're also not going to get your earnest money back. And my buyers were like, excuse me?
Wow.
But they are actually going to get their earnest money back. We did back out of it, and they are getting all 5,000 of their earnest money back. I uploaded the termination document into the portal, into Brokerment, and it shows that they're getting their earnest money back. So I was able to get that for them.
Good negotiating. And they found another one that they like. Is it
And
still
they're
a
going to be
Pulte?
closing on the other one on June 27th. So only 9 days after they would have closed the Pulte home, they're going to close an inventory home, which of course isn't one that they built from the ground up because they built that Pulte home from the ground up.
Yeah.
But it's still a
Yeah.
really good house. It's a Coventry home.
Okay. All right. So they
And they're
switch
buying a Coventry home in
builders
New
altogether.
Braunfels. Yeah, they're buying a Coventry home in New Braunfels versus this Pulte home in Seguin, where the builder rep even told me 4 homes in 1 month did not appraise in that community, which seems to be targeted to that community because surrounding communities are actually appraising. So it's really wild to me.
So get a new appraiser.
We couldn't VA. That appraisal has a whatever number that they assign to it that it's stuck with it.
Yep. Stuck with it. But I'm saying the builder sounds like needs a new appraiser.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe unfortunately we got their worst one. I mean, I don't know, but my buyers could not bring that amount of money and still be able
Yeah.
to really successfully move here from North Carolina. So, and
Yeah.
these are people I've worked with 2 other times when I helped them buy and sell. So I'm a little protective and I went into mama bear mode and
Right? And as we should for all of our clients.
and then the one that I'm selling the house in Bryan is the one that went under contract at Salerno in Round Rock this past weekend.
Nice. How's that one going? Was that a ground up or was that inventory?
It's inventory technically, and it's not done until August, but technically inventory home.
Right.
The builder rep is amazing. He
Good.
was low pressure. He was very understanding of her situation, her nervousness. When they bought their house in Bryan, like Travis pretty much monopolized the entire thing, kept Jenna completely out of it. And she had no understanding. She has still really very little understanding of the process to buy a home, considering that she lives in a home but doesn't understand how any of it goes.
Right.
So,
So when you chose this inventory home that was partially completed, did your clients get to choose the final finishes, any at all?
None. KB won't
No,
even
they had
allow
already
you
been.
to, they said that in that I guess maybe it's in that community. I don't know if it's in that area, but I know for sure that community, as of 3 months ago, you technically can't add anything to the home after it's been spec'd out.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So we can't even add window blinds to it. Right now, I am trying to negotiate that they add the garage door opener, and I may actually get that added because I brought up the fact that outside garage door companies coming in, at least down in San Antonio, have been known to void warranties
Right.
when they install versus having the builder do it, which
Correct.
protects the warranty.
Correct. Yep. It's a warranty issue. Go ahead, Tanya. You had something?
I was just gonna go with Renee on that and let her know. We bought this house from KB, Renee, and bought and built it from the ground up. And you're absolutely right. As soon as it goes to spec or inventory,
Mhm.
they've picked it out. You can't make any changes. But they do have um, a design warehouse for KB in Austin specifically.
They do in San Antonio too. That's
Yeah, so as
really
long as
nice.
it's just a matter of where they're at with the building process. If it's already at spec, that means they've priced it and they've picked all the finishes and you get what you get. But there's
And
KB in Salerno is
unfortunately, we
pretty
don't
good.
get, I was just saying, unfortunately, we don't get blinds, but
That's all right. Listen, it's cheaper for your client to buy blinds anyway. I have a guy that did mine. I'll give you the information
please
because I'm
do.
right here in Hutto. They were better. So
She'll take anything she can get. I'm pretty much hand holding her through everything at this, and I love her to death. She's one of my dearest friends, but I'm hand holding her through the whole thing.
yeah, we didn't do KB blinds on our house either. We had them custom from this guy, and they're that's like in the next house we buy. My husband's gonna want to find the same kind of blinds. They're so good. So
Um, yeah, it's interesting, we used to be able to come in partway through it and pick the final finishes. And it seems, well, during COVID, everybody went to packages. Since COVID, you know, has kind of weaned off, we've had more and more builders come in and say, okay, you can go back to the studio and pick your own stuff. But some of them still have packages.
Some of them
Here,
still
you can
won't
pick from.
let you. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Lennar
They
is
do
one of those that
packages.
you get what you get.
Yeah.
Lennar is
And
a
you don't
straight
throw a
up.
fit.
Yeah, Lennar. Yeah, I tell it to my kids all the time. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit.
Don't throw a fit.
Yeah,
That's right.
Lennar
Which
is it was like
Lennar
that when we bought.
community I was gonna say, which Lennar community is your home that you're selling in?
It's in Hutto, but we bought two down there in San Antonio for when would we do that for
Mm-hmm.
Baker? 2 years ago. I think the San Antonio Lennar was 3 years ago.
Oh, the
Um,
rental home over on the southwest side, right?
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
over there
Yeah.
by the fairgrounds or
By the market, right? By the big,
yes,
yeah, I know
yeah.
Traders Village, right over there by
Thank
Traders
you. That's
Village.
what it's called. I couldn't remember the name of it. Yeah. Yeah. So we bought those for an investment guy for 2 or 3 years ago. And it was the same thing. All the finishes were done, which was nice for him because he was an investor and he was planning on doing them as rentals. So he didn't care if it looked like a box on the outside, as long as there was a garage and a key that locked everything up. He was good for his rentals. Well, and then I noticed this time I'm buying this lady is a neighbor, and unfortunately she's, like I said, she's going to be going through a divorce shortly, and so she needed her own place, and she gets nothing. Like, it's the countertops are the white countertops. That's what you get. The cabinets are the gray, you get the gray. The carpet's gray, you get the gray. Like, that's it. And I had said to them, well, what if we get one that hasn't been built yet? And they said, no, this is our standard. This is the model. This is what happens. And I think that
Yeah.
Lennar does it that way because Lennar is actually one of those um, barely getting your feet wet model homes, I guess is the way to say it, where it's really great for first time home buyers who don't know what to expect of owning a home, young homeowners, and then of course investors that are going to turn them over as rentals, because until you really own a home or go through the process of buying a home for an investment purpose, you don't really know. You don't know what you don't know. You just really need four walls that are secure. when you're first figuring things out, you know. And so Lennar does it that way by keeping the packages, so to speak, all inclusive, one right there, one price. And the price really isn't negotiable until it's been sitting on the street completed for a few months with Lennar.
Basically the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid method.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that is Lennar's business method. I think you're right.
Was
But
the
I
house
mean,
on that street called Ghost Stories? Because my buyer refused to look at that neighborhood because they have a street named Ghost Stories.
That's the one we're buying. We're buying it on Ghost Story Way. Yeah.
wow. So it's going to be interesting to me in 4 or 5 years, when people are selling these homes and there's only 3 colors of granite countertops in the entire neighborhood.
I agree with you on that because I think it's going to make it so almost so cookie cutter that it's going to be a turnoff to a lot of
A lot of
buyers.
people. Yeah.
Well, I hear that, but I don't think it will be because it will always be the lower end of of a newer home in contemporary time. So like if my daughter and her husband are wanting to buy a home and Hutto's going to be built out. Like let's say
Sure.
right Hutto's going to be built out real soon, but she wants to stay in Hutto. So she's going to have to buy, and those will be the newer of the resale homes. And they would be
Right.
a first time buyer. So it would
Right.
still be right at the price point
Starter
that they could
homes.
afford. You know, not everybody can afford to live on the golf course. These
Right.
No.
homes here aren't for everybody. This isn't for the first time buyer. And that's
Yeah.
okay too. So, yeah, and it's
Right
not really
down the
for an
road
investor either. I mean,
right down
I
the
don't want
road
a
from
tenant in here that's gonna pay
Salerno.
$3,000 a month. A tenant that's gonna pay $3,000 a month can buy a home. I've got in my head all the time that they can leave at any time because they can afford to buy a home if they can afford to rent a home at 3 grand.
Yeah.
So
Right
I
down the
think
road
it's gonna
from
be okay.
Salerno. And y'all know where I'm talking about, right down the road
Yeah.
from Salerno. Is this like I can't even remember the name of the community right now, but I think it starts with a V and it's slipping my mind. But it is literally right down the road from Salerno when you're going back toward
Vis
where all the restaurants
Vizcaya.
are. Yeah, Vizcaya, that's it.
Vizcaya. Yeah.
And that community is so fancy. And then just, quarter or a third of a mile down the road, you have a subdivision with 3 different series of KB homes in it. I mean, you've got everything from a $300,000 KB home to a $600,000 KB home in this one community.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because the Vizcaya homes look like they could be closer to 800 to a million. But then you
So
go,
Vizcaya was an interesting project. I actually got to sit on a panel whenever they were discussing the development of that community. They were trying to create a 55 plus
that's what it is.
with
It's the 55 plus, but it's fancy.
an adjacent family homes area. So on one side of the community is 55 plus, on the other side of the community was this is where the grandkids are going to live.
So, my friend that I'm selling the house to, her whole family, her mom and dad live in Round Rock. She grew up in Round Rock. And I guess a couple of ladies from the church she attends lives in Vizcaya. So she feels like really pretty comfortable with Salerno because she knows she's got people right down the road if
Right
she
there.
needs it.
Yeah, very good.
It's a nice area.
I don't normally sell up there. It's a special circumstance of this is the widow of my best friend,
Yeah.
which is why I do, but I'm learning a lot about the area while I am selling up there.
Mhm.
It's
We're
very
here to walk
interesting.
you through it. We will hold your hand.
It's
It
a
has
nice
been
area. I think she'll be comfortable there.
it
I've
has been
had a
really
few people
fun.
like that area.
Yeah.
It's been really fun for me because I'm the type that researches everything I ever sell. And I do a lot of research on the areas. I do research on tax rates so I can inform people what they're getting into. And I have
Yeah.
really enjoyed this process.
Good. Good, good.
I do have to say the tax rate that you're bringing up, the tax rate that we have at the new build in Hutto Lennar, I was really pleasantly surprised is a lot better than the tax rate that I've got here on our new build because she is within the city limits, I believe. That Lennar is actually in the city limits of Hutto. And so she doesn't have a PUD. Yeah, she doesn't have a MUD. She doesn't have any of that. So she's pretty stoked because here, we're in the ETJ,
Yep.
so we have all of those fun extras. So
And that's what they're dealing with in Salerno is a mud. However, Salerno is a mud that as soon as they build it all the way out and it's occupied, is going to continue to go down on the tax rate and apparently has already gone from like a 3.1 to 2.6, 2.7. It's already gone down that far just in the amount that they've built at this point. So it'll continue to decrease.
Well, if you ever wanted to know, the highest tax rate in Williamson County is in Paloma Lake. If you ever wanted to know.
And how high is that one?
That one's almost 4. There's one area now, there's one area of Paloma Lake that is not that high, right? So Paloma Lake in one area has 2 different muds, and that's what jacks it up. So I think it was 3.9 or something like that. It was insane.
I
Absolutely
sold one,
insane.
I want to say, about a year and a half ago in Bernie, Texas, in Esperanza, which is also a mud community.
Hmm.
If the mud was not there, the typical tax rate in that community is like 1.9. The mud is like 1.1, so it brings it up to like a 3% tax rate in a
Wow.
community of $700,000 to $900,000 homes, which is just ungodly.
Yeah. Well, and trying to sell those, right? I mean, that's what you kind of run into trying to sell those. It can get hairy.
I
Um,
had to explain it very well a few times. I even had to fire 2 lenders who didn't find
didn't
the
get it right.
month and they didn't get it right. And I had to fire them on
Yeah.
behalf of a very passive buyer that I had at that time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you mentioned Mama Bear. We should be that way with all of our clients. Really, we have to. That's our job, is to step in and protect them from what they don't know, right? Kelly Morales, y'all are being very, very quiet over there. Do you have any questions or any discussions that you want to anything?
Here all the time, but not, well looking with the kiddos,
You look great.
with the kiddos on vacation, a lot of interesting information. I've done like 2 new constructions in the past. Right now, I don't have anybody. I have a buyer, but I mean, he's getting ready. He's not still in the point, but he wants to buy new construction next year, hopefully. So, I mean, he's still looking, like, because I have like a search for him, and he's
Right.
looking and all that, but he's getting ready for next year. He wants to buy next year, new construction,
Good.
but a lot of good information.
Good. Good.
Thank
What you got
you.
for us, Kelly?
I don't have any questions. I was just sitting in on the information. Thank you.
Okay. Sweet, sweet. Anything else for us to go over?
I personally would sell new construction as much as I like selling it as much as possible. I mean, I know that some people view it as you're turning it over to the builder to do the work, but I am incapable of doing that. So
I know. Yeah. No, I'm so involved with every process, and I let the sales rep know right out of the gate. I am not the agent that's going to walk in here and turn my client over to you. I expect to be copied on every email that goes out. I will be in close contact with my client during this entire process. I let them know what to expect from me, right? And a lot of them will say, "Oh, you don't have to do that. We can take it from here."
no.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I will be involved. I will be here for every builder walkthrough that we have. Not going to happen.
But I just see so many pluses to it. I mean, there are always going to be cons always, but there's just so many pluses to it and it streamlines the process for a lot of buyers. So, and plus the interest rates at this moment are better on new construction. So it helps to go into it with an open mind and
Yeah.
be ready to protect the buyer versus just turn them over.
Builders are able to offer more incentives, far more incentives.
Well, for me, what I have figured out, it's really funny, is coming from California, we didn't do a whole lot of new construction because let's just face it, the land's not there. It's built up. And then when they did build new construction, the price difference was so astronomical that even if you bought your new construction home, you were basically married to that home for 5 to 10 years before the homes around in the neighborhoods caught up to it to give you a viable comp in order to
Right.
sell it at a
Oh,
good,
wow.
so that you didn't
Wow.
lose money.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
when we got here, it was similar to that when I came here in 2020. It was still kind of that same idea. But what I noticed was after COVID, and this is even in California too, is now after COVID, the new construction homes and the resale homes are back on a fairly even playing field as far as monetary is concerned, equity building is concerned. The difference is how fast you want to get into a home.
Right.
And like you said, Renee, the price point on your interest rate. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of lenders that are still doing the, hey, we've got the buy downs, not a problem. We got to buy downs. And any good realtor worth her weight in salt can grab the sellers to help buy down that rate and get them, what they need. So where I used to be the girl that would say, hey, let's not really look at a new construction because it's going to take you a minute to get your equity. Now I just go, tell me where you want to go.
Yeah.
We'll look at whatever you want to look
Yeah.
at. How the question now is, how fast do you need to be in a home?
That's kind of the thing. Yeah, you ask them how fast they actually need to move in because are they willing to accept a house that's inventory or are they really going to
Mhm.
be dead set on making sure it's fully, I mean, it
Mhm.
might be, a builder home that they can't customize the walls where the walls
Right.
are, but how customized do they want to get on paint colors and countertops, etc.
Mhm.
versus are they willing to accept inventory?
And
Yeah.
even inventory homes now are that's kind of just a catchy phrase because the truth is an inventory home might be like KB's definition where our specs are already in and we're considering an inventory home, but it's not going to be done for the next 3 months. So you're
Right.
still going to have
They
to
have
wait a
come a
minute.
long way, though. I will
Yes.
say this as somebody
So
who's been selling KB for 10 years. They have come a long way
Yeah.
on how they spec out those homes. They
Hmm.
look like model homes now versus how they used to look with their
Absolutely.
orangish colored cabinets and all of that. They actually look amazing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They've done a good job. They're one of the better mid builders in my opinion now. It took them a while to
Yeah.
get there, but now they're now they're back up to where they
No,
need to be.
I mean, I absolutely agree. I've taken a construction guy out looking at homes. He wanted to look at, before he looked at new homes, he wanted to look at all of them at stud stage before he would walk into a finished one. He said, do not take my wife into a finished one until I've seen it at stud stage, because he didn't want her to fall in love with something that he wasn't willing to live with. And
Hmm.
we, in this particular community, we looked at 3 different builders at stud stage before we looked at anything that was completed. And he went with KB Homes because it was a better build. So,
They are doing a good job with the construction quality of their homes.
yeah. So it's very interesting, because we always had this connotation of KB being, below starter kind of, but not it's not so much anymore.
KB is actually what I started out selling when I got on the board in San
KB
Antonio.
will allow you to do an open house
That's what I
too.
said. That's how I did it. I got in and started doing open houses for them. And that's how I actually got started selling. They're not really doing it so much here anymore, down here
They
at least.
are still allowing it up here in Williamson County.
Okay.
So, as even as far as reaching out, and whenever you run into, at a agent event, and KB is sponsoring that event, and they get up and talk, they invite you to come and
So
do it.
since y'all are all in the Williamson County area, I highly recommend this sales rep over in Salerno, and his
Yeah.
name is Severo Hernandez. And I highly recommend him for just his bedside manner with a
Nice.
buyer who is very nervous.
Yeah.
He's good. He's not high pressure. And a lot of salespeople can be, but he is
Yeah.
absolutely not. And I will tell y'all, if you're ever out at Salerno, look him up because he's amazing.
Nice. Nice. New builds are really good when you've got somebody that doesn't want to do a whole lot of maintenance on the home or doesn't want to have a whole lot of problems. I tell you, I've had clients who, after looking at an inspection and picking it apart, oh, this isn't right, and what if this happens, and what if this happens? I've looked at them and said, let's go look at some new builds. I feel like you would really, really be comfortable with a new build, and we've done that because they don't have those worries. What if the water heater goes out in 5 years? Like, I mean, you know, it's a thing. They only live so long. You're buying a resale home. You can't expect the seller to put a brand new HVAC and brand new water heater and brand new roof all on that home. But if those are your concerns, let's go look at some new builds, right? So sometimes if you've got a client that seems very antsy about the inspection, or you're walking through homes and they're, oh, I'm concerned about this breaking, I'm concerned about that breaking, that might be a good time to step in and say, have you considered new? I've got some things I can show you, right? And when you know your area, you can just step right over and show them what's going on in the new community across the street or down the road in the same school district, whatever that looks like. But so it's definitely a good option to have. Or if they're having a hard time coming up with their down payment, sometimes the new builds can take their funds at the table off of their plate, completely many times. So they can bring very little. Or even the earnest money, right? They don't have to put as much earnest money down if they're somebody that doesn't want to or doesn't have it to put that much down. Sometimes a new build can take that off of them because a lot of times new builds do not require as much earnest money as a resale home. So they can be great options for many different types of buyers. It's just good to kind of keep it in your back pocket, right? Thinking outside of the box. How else can I help my client achieve their goal of owning their own home? Sometimes, because their big box has more money to throw at clients, that we can get them better deals there. So, and they don't have to worry about maintenance and repairs and all of that stuff. Good morning. How are you, sweet pea? Looks just like her mama.
Dile hola. Hola.
Hola. Adorable. Any other things that you guys want to go over? Okay. I do have a class that comes up every so often. If you watch your connections, you'll see the representing buyers in new construction class. I wrote that class after several times of going over with new agents. This is kind of the full. We go from introducing your client to it. We go through every type of new build, custom, as well as, your big box. We go through everything in there. It's a 3-hour class that you can get CE credit for. And every time I teach it, it goes in the connections. Occasionally it's even by Zoom. So, you can attend it. And Madeline is yelling from the other room. We have one next week. So,
Will it be on Zoom or in person?
is it on Zoom or in person? In person. It is
Well,
in
that
person.
probably rules me out.
I don't know, unless you're going to already be up here for your new build client. I have a guest bed that will house you. So just saying, you
I'll
could
have
always
to see if I
spend a
can
little
make
more time.
things work.
At any rate, so watch that connections, for that class. It's a fun class. We go through everything in there. But anyway,
It sounds fun. I've sat on some builder panels for Builder Boost in the past, and I just
I
enjoy
love
the
doing that.
opportunity to
Yeah,
talk to people about new construction.
I love doing that. Tanya, what you got?
How long can I call my home a new construction?
You've lived in it.
Dang it. Can I call it newer?
You can call it like new.
I can't call mine that anymore, and I bought it new, but I've lived here 11 years, so.
Can't do the like new anymore. No, I think that last year when we had to treat for termites, I had to stop calling mine like new. Even though we bought ours was built in 95, but before we moved into it, we completely gutted it and it was a brand new home when we moved into it. But then we had termites invade us and yeah, had to get that treated. So I don't think I can call it like new anymore.
Well, this one will be going on the market within the next couple of weeks. And I will be looking for people that want to hold open houses here.
Kelly, we need to go boycott Tanya.
I was gonna do, Kelly and I were talking about putting a sign on the back gate so that the golfers can see that it's for sale.
Is your
And
HOA going to allow that?
hey, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. What are
True.
they gonna do? Kick me out? I'm already
Leave.
leaving.
That's how I've always felt about HOAs. It's just easier to ask for forgiveness than permission from a lot of the HOAs.
Yeah, yeah. But we were talking about doing a sign on the back that said for sale, FORE sale.
Oh, I love it.
The only thing is that if I do that, then I can't gift you the sign. It won't help you anymore. So,
I love
so
it.
yeah, so I'm going to be looking for open house hosts because I don't necessarily think that I want to host my own open house.
That can be very in intimidating, is that the word?
I think it's emotional
Sure.
because
Yeah.
as much as I'm excited to move on and get the next part of our life started, we built this house from
Yeah.
the ground up on
Yeah.
the golf course because we liked the views.
Right.
So it's and my kids are still going to be here for a minute or two. I don't know how long it's going to be before my kids actually join me. So, there's a whole lot of things going on with it. So I don't know that I necessarily want to be here. And me, Lori, I could care less if somebody goes, "You've lived in this house since 2025 or since 2020 and you never painted the walls." Yes, ma'am, that's correct. I'm not
Yeah.
good with commitment. I don't want to paint the walls. You can paint the walls. They're beautiful white. Like I don't care. It's not my thing. The
Right.
things I care about were the things I paid money for. The cabinets, the granite, the floors. That's what I
Don't
paid.
yeah. Don't come in and diss those.
Yeah, I don't but nobody's going to. You've seen my floors. They're gorgeous. But but I don't get, but when they start, well, why are you leaving?
Yeah.
Because I'm ready to move on to my next section of life. But I really
Yeah.
am. so
Yeah.
So
We are not
I
ready
think
for you to
I'm going to
leave.
need some open house hosts. So if anybody thinks that they'd like to sit here for a few hours, just let me know, and it's yours. So
We will make sure to get that added to our um, open house list for agents.
yes, I appreciate that. But that's it.
I'm
I
not
can't
ready
tell
for
any.
you to list your house, though.
Huh?
I'm not ready for you to list your house.
I know, but we're ready. Matt's got to be in St. Louis by at least
Oh,
October.
I have no ties to Matt. He can go.
I'll tell him.
You're moving to St. Louis?
Yes, we're moving to Southern Illinois. We have a bunch of family there too. And like I told Lori, I can buy a house, Renee, on 3 or more acres for $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So you'll be
it's
right near Scott Air Force Base, right?
yeah, we're going to be looking at Collinsville. I have family in Granite City, so we're looking at Collinsville, Alton, Edwardsville, all of those. Yeah, so we could, I don't want to go all the way down to Scott, but but we'll be, if we have to, we have to, because that's kind of what we're looking for is the acreage. So
I don't know if you're planning on selling homes up there or not, but
mhm.
I have a good amount of friends I've met through CRS basically that
Mhm.
are realtors in that area in Southern Illinois that I would connect you with in a heartbeat.
Oh, I appreciate that. My brother's already there.
No, I
So,
mean not to sell you the house. I mean to get to know, to network with, and to get to,
oh,
all that.
I'm down for that. That's perfect. I'll keep that up. I'll let you know when we're ready. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the adventure. So,
Not
but
ready.
Jake's here for at least a year.
I know. For at least a year. He signs his lease.
Yeah, he's here for at least a year with you.
Yeah. All righty. If there's nothing else, we will go ahead and close out. Appreciate everybody popping in. And Tanya and Renee, thank you so much for all of your details and experiences. That made this even better.
I'm going to go deal with the repair amendment now.
Have fun with that. All righty. Y'all take care. Holler if you need me for anything. I'm here for you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.